Hey players, we are now live. Welcome to another episode here on the Josh Speaks. For those of you that are new, my name is Josh. Every single week I make videos, wrong thing, sharing tips, ideas, and stories teaching you how to be your best self. And in this live stream, I'm going to be sharing 5 easy tips to have massively better text conversations. If you feel like you struggle with text conversations, with talking to your crush, with opening up and sharing things with them, I'm going to walk you through what you could start saying, what you could start doing that can make those conversations more fun, more engaging, and more exciting overall. So I'm super pumped to walk you guys through this here. Let me just adjust the light here. I feel like it's a little too dark. Let's brighten it a bit. All right, that should be okay. Welcome everyone. So if you're here in the live stream early, you are part of the early bird crew. So let's get those early birds up on the stream. Hit the thumbs up if you haven't already. I'm going to give shout outs to all the early birds here in the chat. Let's see who we got. Myriad Scorp is in here. Alexander Cole, Rage Master. Good to have you, Rage Master. Yancey, I know, is in here as well. Plush Productions. Connor Jones is in here. Let's see. Hamish K. Always a pleasure to have you, Hamish. Nigel Williams. Josh Productions. Alex Burns. Good to have you again, Alex. Let's see. Anthony Quentel's in here as well. Eddie Gibbons is in here. Jalen's in here. Yancey is in here. I said Yancey. Noah Gillian. Cheesy's in here as well. I hope I said Noah Gillian's name right. Juan Speaks. Good to have you, my man. Rewired Soul. Good to have you, dude. Happy you're on the stream, man. Eduardo TV. Good to have you as well. Guys, if you haven't already hit the thumbs up here, I'm super excited about this stream because I think this is going to be a fun topic to walk through to kind of get you guys to start feeling like you're having better text conversations. Now, as I walk through the points, if you have a burning question, sometimes when people type things in the chat, it just goes right on by and I totally just miss it. But if you want to put your question front and center and have me see it, if you want to have me kind of see your question, stop what I'm doing and respond to it, you can always use the super chat function. It's $1, $2, whatever it is. The more money, kind of the longer it stays on the screen. But if you submit a question through super chat, it'll pop up. I will treat it like a burning question. I'll stop what I'm talking about and I will address your question. So if you have something that you need an answer for, that's the best way to find out. I'm super excited for you guys. Let's roll on through here. Let's see who else we got. Jumpin' Axe is in here as well. I am Adder is in here. Gavin Nutting. Amkar Cavalli. Diego the Minecraft. Momin Ben Yusuf. L4N00 is in here as well. Dark Matic. Sun Stefan. Good to have all you guys in here. Some of you guys are familiar faces. Some of you are new. So if you're someone that's new, say hi in the chat. Now, let's talk a little bit about why people struggle with text conversations. Why is it so hard sometimes to kind of get that person to respond, to get them to kind of feel engaged and to have the conversation flow naturally? I think a big reason for this is generally because sometimes the things that you're talking about or the way that you're approaching the messages that you're sending aren't sent in a way that can kind of invite the other person to want to engage and share their thoughts and feelings, right? So here's a simple example of that. Sometimes people will message, you might message your crush and say something like, hey, what's up? How's your day? Right? On the surface level, it seems like a pretty simple, straightforward message, but what you're doing by kind of asking a question like that is you're creating a situation where the other person now has to come up with something interesting to share. By simply saying, how was your day? If they had a boring day, right, they may not want to tell you that they had a boring day because it kind of kills the conversation. But they have to kind of scramble maybe to think of something interesting to say. So sometimes it might just be easier to either A, not respond, or to give you a simple answer that kind of just shuts down a question, which is, it's been all right. This happens all the time in conversations. Whenever you ask kind of these simple questions. How's your day going? What's up? How you doing? What I think makes much more sense for you guys to do is to focus your time and intention and energy on asking questions that can kind of prompt a real, authentic, and genuine answer from the person. Something that they'd want to share with you, a story that they want to tell, an opinion that they want to put out there. So I think it's important to start to craft and think along those lines in order for you to have better text conversations. So let's start walking through the points here, guys, and I think you'll see what I mean as I walk through it. Let's get to point number 1 here. And that's going to be this. So the first tip I would offer is skip the formalities, jump right into the convo. A lot of people, like I said, just kind of spend too much time with how are you? How you doing? How's your day going? And I feel that kind of slows the momentum down of the conversation. Let me play it out for you here. If you're trying to talk to someone, if you're trying to get a fun conversation going, you want to start where the action is happening. You want to start with a question that they're going to be excited to answer, not with a question that they're not going to be too excited to answer. So if you kind of start with this, how's your day going? And they say, oh, it's good. How's your day going? Oh, it's good. And you guys are doing that little back and forth in the beginning. It kills the momentum of the conversation. It slows it down. It makes it feel like there's this kind of unnecessary formality, right? When you're talking to your close friends and stuff, you usually don't start the conversation by, asking, hey, how's your day going? How's your day going? Good. You kind of just jump right into talking to them, right? Because they're your friends. There's a close bond you share where you can go, hey, dude, what's up? What do you think about so-and-so? You can jump right into those. So if you want to build a closer bond with your crush, it's important to think about how you can jump right into those questions. Hamish, thank you so much for the £2 super chat. Let's pull up Hamish's statement here. Oh, pressing the wrong buttons. I got to get better at pressing these buttons quicker. All right, Hamish, I heard that burning question there. Hamish came in. Oh, wrong one. There we go. This is the right button. Hamish said, texting like a pro, no cracked screens, please. Yeah, I mean, if you crack your screen, it might be hard to text. You might cut your finger. It might just ruin the flow of you reading what's on the screen there. Hamish, thank you for the £2 super chat. Always a funny guy, man. Thank you for being part of our community and sharing your thoughts, man. So let me give you an example of what that might look like, right? This was the point I was sharing here, guys. Skip the formalities, jump right into the convo. What does that look like, right? Well, if you're DMing someone that you're interested in, start with something engaging. Here's an example. Oh, I forgot to move this. Let's move this here. There we go. Start with something engaging, guys. Wait, let's put it up there. No, let's put it in the center. There we go. Start with something engaging. So if you look at the conversation here on the left, right? This conversation is a pretty generic conversation. Hey, what's up? Nothing much, you. Hanging out? How's your day going? Fine, I guess. Notice how the momentum kind of slows down. You're getting kind of these short answers, nothing interesting, nothing too engaging, and that's going to kind of set the tone of the conversation there. So the conversation eventually dies out when the person's like, doing anything exciting today, because you've kind of gone through that already. You've kind of exhausted this formality in the beginning. But the conversation there on the right jumps right into an interesting question, right? So if you know that your crush, let's say, likes Marvel or likes Disney Plus, and you know that they're into kind of all these different superhero stuff, you might want to jump in and go, hey, I'm looking for a new show to watch on Disney Plus. Any recommendations? Now, by asking something like that, you're jumping right into the action of the content, the real conversation you want to have. And by framing it with a bit of a story beforehand, I'm looking for a new show on Disney Plus, any recommendations, you're letting that person know what it is that you want from them. You're being explicit and open with them. And you're giving them the space to kind of now give a more personalized answer. So they're not just saying something like, how's your day going? Good. Instead, now they can jump in and say something personal, like Alexa Bliss did here. Oh my God, you need to check out WandaVision. So now she's able to express a more personal opinion about what it is that she enjoys. And from there, now that you know she recommended WandaVision, you can go deeper into that conversation. Are you a Marvel fan? She can mention, totally, I love the Marvel movies and the shows. So now you can go into favorite characters, go deeper even into Marvel now. I love Spider-Man. Who's your favorite character? See, a conversation like this ends up being interesting to that person because they've expressed an opinion. They're jumping into a topic, into a conversation that they can enjoy, that can be engaging enough for them to want to share with you. Because a lot of times, if you kind of kill the momentum in the beginning, when you eventually do get to a question like, hey, do you have a recommendation? They kind of maybe have checked out of their phone. They've left that message and gone to go talk to someone else. They're just checking something else on Instagram. They've kind of exited mentally out of the conversation. And by asking, so when you take this kind of boring conversation here on this side, I got to get this side. Boring conversation here on this side, they're going to check out and do something else. When you're using an interesting conversation like this one, they're going to stay engaged. They're going to want to share with you. Now, I'm curious here, guys. Since I asked the question here, before we get to the actual chat poll, I'm curious for you guys. What's a good show to watch on Disney Plus? What are you guys watching? What do you enjoy? I want you to jump into the chat right now and just share. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Nick, thank you so much for the 5 $5 super chat. Let's pull up Nick's answer there. Nick's burning question is this. I know it's not wrong to have a crush on a girl who has a boyfriend. Obviously, you can't ask your crush out. But is it possible to be a vice boyfriend? Interesting question there. So I'm thinking that by vice boyfriend, you mean that, Nick, you might have to kind of explain a little bit more, but I'll interpret what I think that means. What I think that means by vice boyfriend is that you're still a guy that maybe flirts with her. You're still a guy that talks behind the actual boyfriend's back. Or maybe you're just the guy that she wants to be with, but she's with someone else. If that is the case, I personally wouldn't recommend that. And here's why. One, because I think one of the most important things you can do is be respectful of other people's relationships, right? So like if the girl's dating someone else, you don't want to kind of interfere and make things difficult for them. Hey, listen, if they break up on their own, they break up and that's fine. But if you're kind of interfering and causing all these rifts and causing problems by talking to her and flirting with her and doing all these things, then I feel like it isn't fair, because when you're dating her, you really wouldn't want someone to do that to you. And it's important to practice that golden rule. But to be a vice boyfriend, I think might also mean this idea of like being someone that she really, really likes from a distance. You're not interfering in the relationship, but you're just being a good quality guy, and you're just fun and you're exciting. When you do interact with her, it's engaging. I think that's totally fine, because what you're doing is you're just displaying yourself in a positive way. Now, if she chooses to break up with her boyfriend or whatever she does of her own decision and wants to date you, that's different. But I think ultimately it's important to know it's not wrong to have a crush on someone that has a boyfriend, right? You can't control how you feel. Sometimes you like someone and it's not a choice. It's just how you feel about them. You like them. So because you may just like them, there's nothing wrong with that. But what you choose to do, what your actions lead towards, is of your choice. So it's important to ask yourself, am I willing to be respectful of their relationship while still presenting myself in the best light? I think that's the best angle to take. But that's a really good question, Nick. If you have kind of a deeper question to it, something you want to kind of elaborate more on when you mean by vice boyfriend, feel free to jump into the chat. I'll try to catch it and read it out. But I asked you guys just a simple question. What's a good show to watch on Disney Plus? Let's see what you guys had to say. Let's see. Anthony saying WandaVision 24/7. Yeah, right? Like everyone's recommending WandaVision. Let's see. Cheesy says Star Wars. Hamish says don't watch Disney Plus, but Netflix is awesome. Rage says I don't have Disney Plus. I do have Netflix though. Myriad says Green Lantern or Superman. So for those of you guys that have Netflix, what do you recommend on Netflix? What's a good show or movie to watch on Netflix? Take a sip of water here. Okay. What do you guys recommend watching on Netflix? I am Adler says, all right, just make sure my name's going to Mars. Thanks, NASA. Reading through what you guys are saying here. But yeah, going back to that first point, like I said, jump right into the question. Jump right into asking something interesting. Don't add this buffer to it, because the buffer ends up slowing down the actual conversation. But let's jump into the chat poll here, guys. Oh, I should probably pull up the poll first. Let's start poll. There we go, start poll. All right, there we go. There's the first chat poll here, guys. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Nigel says iCarly. iCarly is awesome. I love iCarly. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Life on Mars. A lot of good recommendations. Baby Driver, Jane the Virgin, Fast and the Furious. Cool. Awesome, guys. The Flash or the Goldbergs, V for Vendetta, Godfather, Gravity Falls. Lots of good recommendations. All right, I want you guys to jump in and answer the chat poll here. The question is this. When do you usually start the content piece of the text conversations? So when I say the content piece, I mean what you actually want to talk to them about, the real question you want to ask, not the buffer in the beginning. Are you someone that jumps right into asking your main question? Or do you feel like if you are going to message your crush, you do kind of need to kind of pad it a little bit and add in the, hey, how are you? How's your day going? How's that? Do you have to kind of add that padding, or do you just jump right in? Now, all you guys have to do is type what it says right there. You can type the exclamation point, vote beginning, or vote middle, vote rarely, or vote never. It'll pop up here on the screen as you guys are seeing as people are typing in the chat. So the chat poll is going to start to fill up. But what I try to do is when I do talk to someone, when I do message someone, I kind of just jump in with the question. I feel like when people message me and they're like, hey, how's your day going? How's everything? I feel like there may be something that they want to ask me, but we kind of have this pleasantry and stuff. And I feel like it pulls the conversation back a little bit because we have to do this whole, how's your day? Good. How's your day? Good. Before we get into it. But that's personally me. Where do you guys stand when it comes to messaging your crush? Do you just jump right into it, or do you need that buffer? Let's see. The votes are starting to come in now here. So far in the middle tends to be in the lead or at the beginning. So some of you guys maybe just start with it. Some of you guys kind of maybe come in a little bit later after you kind of talk to them a little bit. Some of them say you rarely do it, so you rarely even get to that point in the conversation. Maybe you don't get past pleasantries. This is another struggle people face too. They kind of start messaging their crush with these generic messages. How's your day going? How are you? What's up? And then they never even get to the real part of the conversation because the person's just left the conversation at that point. They've tuned out. 7% says they never respond. Yeah, so sometimes you message your crush and they just don't even respond. So you don't even get to try to have a real conversation with them. It can be tough. The majority of you guys here are leaning towards at the beginning, which is good. I think that's a good thing. Leaning more towards the beginning is going to be super helpful for you. I think when it comes to having more meaningful conversations and getting that person more interactive and more interested in talking to you, it's going to keep them engaged for longer. So we're at the 50% mark there. I think Darkmatic asked the question about one-on-one. So Darkmatic, I'll pull it up in a second here. But guys, so looking at the chat poll here, most people fall at the beginning part at 50-50, which is, I think, good. I think that's a good sign. We're heading in the right direction. For those of you that find yourself more in the middle, try to incorporate it more in the beginning if you can. And those that rarely do or they just never respond, I have some more tips that I think might help you guys get them more engaged. So let's jump in here and let's jump into those other points here. But first, I want to kind of respond. I think Darkmatic had asked, what's a way that you guys can communicate with me one-on-one? And I think that's a really good question. Hold on, I got to stop the chat poll. There we go. That's a really good question. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, let me pull it up here. The best way to do that is to join me over on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/thejoshspeaks, just like I believe it was just like Jalen said, you can sign up to become a champion member or a hero member. I have a few different tier levels there, but there are different levels where you can talk to me one-on-one every single month. I know some of you guys kind of want more one-on-one coaching, one-on-one kind of direction, rather than just these live streams, or I respond to your text message every so often. Maybe you want to dive deeper into the things you want to work on, and maybe you want to talk more privately in a private setting. Becoming a Patreon member is the best thing that you can do, because we can meet every single month one-on-one, have a video chat with just you and me talking. On those Patreon calls, what I do is I work with you guys and kind of setting up a plan, going through your situation, coming up with a game plan so that the next month when we catch up, you can fill me in on the details. Plus, with all the Patreon members, what I do is I mark you in my Instagram in the primary folder. So I'm always ready to answer your guys' messages first. Like I have you guys marked, so if you DM me, I can get to it really quickly. I'm super engaging mostly with the Patreon members. So if you want to kind of get my full attention, becoming a member on Patreon is the best way to do that. And also, if Patreon's not your thing, you want to do it here on YouTube instead, you can always become a YouTube channel member as well. Hit the little join button. It should be down there next to the subscribe button, and it's the same perks as Patreon. And it's the best way to communicate with me one-on-one. Darkmatic asks, how much is it? There's different tier levels. At the video call level, where we can sit and talk every single month, that starts at the $10 level. But if you look it up, there's different tier levels and different lengths of time we can talk. So we can talk once a month for half an hour, or we can talk upwards to 1 hour every single week if you want to. So I have those different levels there. But that's something else. Go check out Patreon if you want to work with me one-on-one. Let's jump into point number 2 here, guys. And if you have questions about Patreon, how to sign up, how does it work, shoot me a message, a DM, and I'll go further into detail with it, walking you guys through it. Okay, cool. So let's jump into the second point here, and this is going to be the second tip for you. Add context to your questions and stories to make them relatable. A lot of times, people always ask me, what do I say to my crush? How do I start a conversation with them? What do I kind of say to get them to respond to me, right? And a lot of times I'll share my 20 icebreaker conversation starters, or I'll say, ask them questions. But One of the problems with just asking your crush questions over and over is that you might start to feel like you are interviewing them. You might start to feel like you're just asking question after question after question, and it doesn't feel like there's a deepness to it. And I think that can happen sometimes when you just focus on asking questions, which is why I want you to add more context to the questions. Adding context to the questions allows that person to see that you genuinely care about what their answer is because the question matters to you. And I'll give you an example of what that looks like here. Everglow says, I really don't know why I'm here anymore, honestly. I don't really relate to anyone in the community anymore. I'm sorry to hear that, man. I feel like you jump in the video chat, the Instagram after parties, and then the Discord calls and stuff, and we talk all the time. So I'm sorry to hear that, man. Nick followed up, and Nick said, vice boyfriend means like you take the time to hang out and be nice and show the girl what a good potential date you could be in the future. Yeah, Nick, I would lean against that. And the reason why I would lean against that is because if the girl already has a boyfriend, what you might be doing is setting yourself up for the friend zone. You might be setting yourself up for her to go, he's such a nice guy and I would date him, but I'm dating this other guy. So since I'm dating this other guy, you're a friend to me. Like she might slot you in there. I wouldn't recommend doing. I think that if a girl has a boyfriend, try to keep your distance from her. Focus on other girls. Try to talk to other girls because that's going to allow you to practice, to build up your skills, to get more comfortable with flirting, with interacting, and all the other pieces that come along with getting to know someone that you like. But looking at this point, guys, like I said, adding context to your questions to make them more relatable. Here's an example of what that looks like. Wrong thing. No, wrong thing again. I just want to grab this. There we go. I forgot to move this for these. All right, let's move it there, right in the center. Cool. So if you look at these two examples right over here, one is an example of a conversation that kind of fell apart, and one is an example of a conversation that kind of the person dived deeper into those questions and added more context. If you look at this one over here, basically, the guy's asking the girl, Mia Yim, lots of questions, right? Hey, where do you like to hang out for fun? The girl says, usually at the park. Why? Then he responds with just curious. So there's no context to why he's asking that question. She doesn't know why. It seems like a weird question to ask. Where do you hang out for fun? Why do you want to know? Then he just follows up with another question. What's your favorite movie? She says Soul, and he goes, cool. I like Marvel's Endgame. Notice how he's asking questions, but he's not adding context to them. He's not creating personality with them. Now, if you look at the conversation over here, he asked the question, have you ever been to Keithley River downtown? The girl says, no, why? Now he follows up with a more context-based reason for the question. My friend and I are going to shoot a music video. We want a cool location to film at. Any recommendations? So now he's asked the question, but he's given her a reason as to why he's asking the question. And when you give a reason as to why you're asking the question, well, now the person feels a little bit more of an attachment. They feel like, oh, cool, now I understand what you're trying to accomplish or what you want to know or what you want to do. And I have all the more reason to share that with you, to share my perspective, to share my opinion. So that's a good example. And, the girl said, check out the abandoned NXT warehouse in the next town. So she gave an example of what you can do now that she understands the context. So when you add context to your text messages, when you're asking questions or sharing a story, it allows the person to feel a lot more personal attachment to what you're saying, rather than like in this one where you're just asking questions and it kind of falls away. It's like, it almost feels like you're interviewing them and you're not talking to them in a normal, open way. So that's the second thing I think that you guys can focus on. Like I said, add context to your questions. Let's jump into the chat poll here because I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. There are 40 people watching right now. I want that many people jumping into the chat and responding here. We'll pull up the chat here so we can show off your chat messages as you guys are writing there. I want you guys to all answer the chat poll question here, which I think is going to be an interesting one. But let's do that here. Let's get the chat poll going. And the question is this. Do you ever feel like you're interviewing your crush when you talk to them? Do you ever get that feeling like when you're asking questions, it doesn't feel personal, or maybe you're struggling to make it feel personal and it just comes off like it's kind of like an interview in some way? Like you are just, you're just kind of, asking questions, getting an answer, but there's no personality or tone to what they're saying, and that can be kind of a struggle as well. Do you ever feel like you're in that position? Hamish, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. When I hear the burning fire sound, I'll pull it up there. Hamish said, yes, I love the new look, on point. It's a fresh look. Let me just pull that up here quickly. Hamish says, pointed out the new look of the slides. If you guys noticed on the points, I changed up the design a little bit. I'm going with a bit of a rebranding for the Josh Speaks. So a lot of these designs here, the colors are going to change. The design is going to change. The fonts are going to change a little bit. It's going to go with the relaunch of my website and kind of my rebranding. So thank you for pointing that out, Hamish. I'm glad you like it. And there's a lot left for me to kind of still change, but take note of it. Those are small things I could do quickly on the fly. So I figured I'll do that. So looking at the chapel here, do you ever feel like you are interviewing your crush when you talk to them? You ever feel like that's the kind of relationship and conversations you have? Music Man says, I'll be moving to Wisconsin in 5 or 6 years, so I'll be in a different time zone. Oh, I hear you on that. Do you feel like that's going to affect your relationships with others? Let's see. As you guys are rolling in the votes, for those of you that already voted, if you want to jump into the chat and give an explanation or a reason as to why you feel that way, go right ahead as well. So that's sorry. Once you answer the question, you can jump right in. Looking at the chapel here, 45% of you say yes, 36% say no. So we're kind of split on that. Majority of people feel like it does fall into that. Then some of you guys are sometimes, luckily, none of you guys feel like they just don't respond and you never run into that. But it looks like there's about a split, yes or no and stuff. For those of you that said yes and you do feel like you're kind of like interviewing your crush in a way, I think adding context to the questions you ask and the things that you talk to them about is going to help break that cycle. It's going to help you feel like things are more personal. Rage Master says, yes, it feels like, why are you asking me so many questions? Exactly, Rage Master. And that's the thing. What you want to do is not ask 10 questions when you talk to them. You want to ask maybe 1 or 2 questions, but you want to go deeper into each of those questions, right? Because if you ask, let's say, what's your favorite movie, you can go deeper into that and ask, what's your favorite TV show? Or you can ask, have you ever seen this TV show or that TV show? Or you can ask, do you like this actor? Do you ever see this movie with them? Notice how I'm just going deeper into that topic. And that's very different from, what's your favorite movie? Where do you like to hang out? What's your favorite fast food restaurant? Did you do the homework on Tuesday? Instead of asking all these questions, you're asking deeper questions. When you go deeper, the conversations become more fulfilling. That person feels more engaged, and it just overall increases the quality of your conversation. Jumping in, seeing what you guys say. So now we're leaning more towards yes. Anthony says, I just suck at texting. I hear you on that. Texting is not easy sometimes. It's definitely not easy. Carter says, nah, she left me on open 8 weeks on Snap, but I haven't reached out to her yet. Yeah, Carter, so I would reflect on, how did the conversation end between the two of you? Sorry. How did the conversation end between the two of you? What were you talking about with her when she just stopped responding? Was the conversation back and forth engaging, or were you kind of just asking things and she was giving you one-word answers, or she just ghosted you out of nowhere? Nilix says, hey, can you help me back? Can you help me? I'm getting better conversations with my crush. Nilix, yeah, I think that the 5 tips I'm sharing here, I think could be super, super helpful for you. I have a playlist listed in the description as well, where I walk through more things to say, more texting tips and stuff. I think that'll be helpful as well. So I would check out the playlist and check out all my texting videos if you really, really want to learn how to master that. Jack says, vote yes. It feels like I'm always asking questions. They don't ask much in return. Yeah, Jack, I hear you on that. Sometimes you might feel like you're interviewing them because you're the only one kind of leading the conversation. And I think the way to kind of change that sometimes too is, once you ask questions and you start to learn a little bit more about them and you start to show them that you have a deep interest in them, it's also important to start to share a little bit more about yourself. The more that you start to share your own personal answers to what you're even talking about, I think then that's going to open the door for them to ask more questions. So if you ask them, hey, have you ever been on a boat before? Right? And they say, yeah, I love riding on boats. And you say, oh man, when I was younger, I once fell off a boat. I don't know, whatever your personal life story is. That might prompt them to be like, wow, you just shared something personal with me. I'm curious. I want to learn more. What happened? You're prompting them by sharing more of yourself for them to now ask more questions. Alex Burns says, when I start talking to my crush, I ask a question. My crush or girl, they will get upset. Alex Burns, I hear you on that. I understand that. Sometimes you might feel like when you ask them questions, they get upset. I think maybe you have to reflect on what kinds of questions are you asking them? Are you asking them multiple questions in a row? Are you asking them kind of repetitive questions? It's important to reflect on that. If you want, you give me some examples of different questions you do ask them, and we can kind of review them there. All right, let's answer a few more questions before I move on to point number 3. Connor Jones says, on Messenger, she changed the emoji to a heart. I accidentally sent it a lot of times, sometimes. Yeah, Connor, so if you feel like you sent the heart emoji quite too many times, it's possible that she might have been a little weirded out, felt like, oh my God, does he like me? Does he not like me? So that can sometimes lead to challenges. And last comment before I jump into point 3, Weatherman says, I feel like it's an interview because I might not have anything to really talk about or don't want to get too in-depth in conversation. Just like simple answers, complete opposite of what I should do, I guess. I hear you on that. So if you don't want to get too in-depth in conversations, I think it's important to ask yourself, what is it that you hope to accomplish in talking to your crush through text? Because if you want to treat texting as just a way to kind of maybe get them on a phone call or to make plans to hang out in person, I totally get where you're coming from in there. Maybe texting is not your thing, but if texting is the only way that you can communicate with them, it might make sense to get a little bit personal so that that next step of talking to them on the phone, hanging out with them can be easier. So that's something I think you might want to reflect on and think about. Okay, cool. Let's jump into point number 3 here, guys. Oh, I'm going slow today, but I think we'll catch up in time before 6. Point number 3 is this. Tip number 3 is don't be afraid to add flirting and complimenting into the mix. Now, this is something I think a lot of people struggle with. One, because it's kind of scary, the idea of just outright flirting with your crush or being flirtatious or complimenting them. People feel like, like if I just compliment them, they might think it's weird or they might stop talking to me. But I think that there's a way to flirt and there's a way to compliment that can come off more natural and fun. Part of it is just kind of being playful, right? Now, I'll show you guys an example of what that looks like in a second, but I think that where you can easily work in compliments is whenever you're talking to your crush about something, you're texting them and you guys kind of agree on something, maybe you have something in common, maybe there's something that you both like. The best thing that you can do really is to be like, oh my God, that's so cool. That's awesome that we have so many things in common. Or like, wow, you like this too? All right, you're in my cool list now. Or like, you're a cool person in my eyes. Like complimenting them on something that you guys have in common is one of the easiest ways to start implementing compliments. But let's look at an example of what it looks like to flirt, whereas adding in compliments could go wrong. And let's move my little face over here to the center again. Okay. There we go. Okay, let's look at these 2 examples here. On this example right here, this is an example of having a conversation with a girl named Sasha Banks, and it just kind of goes wrong. So it starts off here is with, I can't wait to play Call of Duty with you later, right? And the girl's like, yeah, it's going to be fun. And then he comes back, I'm excited. Now notice how the responses in this conversation are all about himself. He's just excited about what he's feeling. He's not interested in going deeper into what she's feeling or her experiences, and that kills the conversation. She says, cool, me too. He says, like, really excited. And by now, she gets it. Okay, he's excited. Okay. Then he comes back. It's going to be a lot of fun. She goes, yep. At this point, what else can she say? Because he's excited to be able to spend time with her, and he's expressing that, but he's doing it in a way that isn't engaging. He's doing it in a way that isn't pulling her in to want to talk to him. Whereas in the conversation over here, if you look, it's a little bit different. In this one, he's being fun and playful and flirty with her. He's saying stuff like, there's no way you could beat me in Call of Duty. And she comes back, sounds like a challenge. And he comes back, you're a cocky one, aren't you? Don't think I'm going to let you win just because you're cute. Now, a simple line like that could be an easy way to flirt with them while being funny. Notice how the flirting just comes natural in the conversation. He's not just outright going, I think you're gorgeous. I think you're beautiful. No, he's teasing her by saying, listen, don't think you're going to win just because you're cute. And then she fires back. Haha, don't let my cuteness distract you. Now, if a girl responds back like that in that playful way, that means that she gets it. There's something there. There's a bond there. There's an excitement in the conversation between the two of you. And if you're getting those type of responses, that's a good thing. That's a good sign to look out for. The message gets cut off, but the guy responds, it's distracting me right now. Yeah, it's distracting me right now, and we haven't even started playing. So he's playing off of the fact that he called her cute. Notice how he speaks with a level of confidence. He just outright called her cute and said it to her. And she kind of went back into it. So that's how I think you can incorporate flirtiness into your conversations. Even something like that like, listen, don't think I'm going to let you get away with that because you're cute. You're letting them know that you think they're cute, but you're being fun and playful about it. And how they respond, if they respond back in a positive and fun way, well, then now the text conversation is just moving on up. Everglow says, yeah, I think I'm going to leave for now. I might come back someday. Everglow, well, Everglow, I'm happy to have had you in the community, man. I value you and your opinions and all the things you have to share. And if you are still interested in working with me one-on-one and you want your mom to email me, I sent you my email, thejoshspeaks@gmail.com. Let her know, and I can talk to her about what my coaching program looks like. But I'm happy you're a member of the community, and maybe you need some time away. That's okay, man. I respect you. I care about you, and I hope you're doing well. Jalen says, yep, let it be natural, not forced. Exactly, Jalen. That's the key piece. The flirting has to just kind of come natural in the conversation. That's going to help step it up. Like I said, if you look at the conversation here, there's a level of excitement there, but it isn't back and forth. It isn't a two-way street. It's a one-way street. He's just expressing his excitement. In the conversation over here, there's a back and forth going on between the two of them. And like I said in this point, don't be afraid to add flirting and complimenting into the mix. You want it to just be naturally part of the conversation. So let's jump in and look at some of what you guys are saying here in the chat. I think you guys are kind of sharing some personal stories and some personal experiences. Let's pull that up here. All right. Nilix says, hi. I'm sorry, not hi. Hey, I stopped talking with my crush for 4 months because when I asked her what her favorite food was, she responds, why are you asking though, with crying emojis? Can you help me, Josh? Also, I don't talk to her. Yeah, so Nilix, I think that's a good point here. You ask the question, what's your favorite food, right? But I think that the question just on its own, randomly, kind of seems weird. It's like, why does he want to know my favorite food, right? Now, what would it look like if you had added context to that? And you said something like, I'm super hungry, but I don't know what to eat tonight. What's your favorite food? Maybe I can see if I can cook it or pick it up somewhere. By adding that context of I'm super hungry tonight and I don't know what to eat, now the question of what's your favorite food doesn't seem weird. It seems like it's integrated in there, right? Like she might say, oh, well, what do you have in your cabinets? Or what do you have in the fridge? Or can you go out and buy food? She might ask those questions because now she's going to feel more of an attachment to the conversation because you've given it context. I'm going to jump in and answer some more questions in here. Let's see. Jalen says, hi, Josh. My crush just posted something on Instagram. Should I like and comment on her photo? Jalen, I think that's okay. I know that your crush unblocked you, so if you want to like her photo and then ask a question in the comment section regarding what the photo is about, I think that might be okay. I guess it depends on what the photo is. Connor says, I'm in a complicated position with a girl. It's weird. Put it out there, Connor. Let's see what's going on, man. Anthony says, I had taken time away from the community and I'm glad to be back. I hear you on that, man. I hear you on that. Hamish says, the conversation on the left relates to the guy talking about himself and not her. You should listen and take interest in what she says. Absolutely, Hamish. I think you nailed it on the head there. Taking time to really hear another person out is really, really going to be important in making sure your text conversations go well. And a lot of people don't really do that. They're more focused on wanting to be liked and accepted, that they're not opening up the floor to be fun and playful with that person. Complex says, if a girl asks you for your zodiac sign, what does that mean? It's hard to say. Sometimes people are just curious about zodiac. Some people are really into zodiac signs. I think where you might be going with it is it a sign of interest, right? Because sometimes people want to know your zodiac sign so they can see if you guys are compatible. If you want to respond back playfully, you could say, okay, I'll tell you, but if you find out that we're meant to be in love, let me think. It was a fun way to say that. Like, you might want to say like, okay, I'll tell you what it is, but if you find out that our signs are compatible and we're meant to get married, I need to take you out first and get to know you better. Like something playful and fun with it. I just made that up off the top of my head, but use it as an opportunity to kind of joke around about there's a level of interest there with her. Okay, I'd love to answer more questions, but I want to get through these points, guys. If you have a burning question, like I said, you can always use I always forget which one I'm putting. The super chat function there, it'll put it front and center. I'll stop what I'm talking about, and I'll dedicate time to answer your question. Let's jump into the next point here, guys, and that's going to be this. All right. Tip number 4 is don't overwhelm them in the conversation. Give them space and time. This is something that happens a lot, especially when you're not getting a response back from your crush. So you might be messaging them and they just ghost you, or they just stop responding out of nowhere. And you're just left wondering like, well, what does that mean? What do I do? You know, this is a common problem. Hold on. Let me just set the chat poll up. Oh, I didn't even do the third one. All right, let's jump to the fourth point. Fourth chat poll. So like I said, sometimes you might feel like like conversations are falling flat. You don't really know what to go with them. I'd recommend being open and going deeper into a previous topic. So if you talk to them in the past about something of interest and okay, now I know what their favorite movie is. I know where they like to hang out with their friends. I know what their favorite food is. You know some details about them. Try to go back to that in the conversation once it dies and say, hey, I remember you recommended this movie and stuff. Where do I watch it? Is it on Netflix or is it on Hulu? You might want to go back into it like that. Or, hey, I know you said, I don't know, McDonald's is your favorite restaurant. What's the best thing to order on the menu? Reference something from the past that you were talking about that you knew or that you can see was an engaging conversation topic for them. Let's jump in and look at some examples of what that might look like. Let's move my face over here. There we go. Okay. Looking at these two examples right over here. The one on the side over here, basically, I think is an example of a conversation that drops out. The guy asked the question to Becky Lynch. So what age did you learn how to build your own computer? And she says, I was around 15 or so. At this point, I feel like I'm a pro. So, she's gotten better at building computers. She understands the technical work. And then, he follows up with, that's awesome. What other tech are you into building? Games? Now, this is what happens if the girl doesn't respond. You might feel the need to kind of keep asking her, hello? And now you might start doubting yourself if you don't get a response. Am I bothering you? And then you might start to feel like, maybe I'm not bothering her. Maybe there's just something wrong with me. And you might ask her, why do you hate me? Notice the progression of angst as the messages go down because he didn't get a response from the girl. Now, a lot of times you don't know why your crush stopped responding, right? Maybe they were busy. Maybe they lost interest in the conversation. Maybe they didn't really want to talk to you. Or maybe they just don't know what to say and they're nervous. These things can happen. So instead of constantly bombarding them with messages, try to ask a follow-up question. Try to ask things that can be more engaging. So here's an example of a conversation where he asked deeper questions, right? So it's the same conversation through and through. And she responded, yeah, I've been thinking about learning programming too. So then he came in and said, nice, same here. I've been a gamer since I was 6. How about you? Notice how he went deeper into the conversation there. But let's just say the conversation died after the games line. He asked her, you're interested in programming games, and she just doesn't respond. He might want to respond with later, maybe another day, a few days from now. It is the real Becky Lynch, definitely. I have all these WWE female superstars on text and speed dial, definitely. If the conversation died there after he said, that's awesome. What other tech are you into building? Games? He might want to say something to bring the conversation back. If he's talking to her later, he might want to say, hey, I'm thinking about building my own computer. Where do you recommend I start? So a question like that will now re-engage the previous conversation and get her to think about what she shared, which was that she's good at building computers. You're making reference to something from the past and you're letting her see that, you're someone that is interested in what she said, and you've now found a new way to kind of get her involved. But let's jump to Azim's question here. Azim, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Happy you're on here, Azim. Azim says, I've been inconsistent with YouTube and martial arts. Does that mean I don't love it as much as I say I do? I feel like I've lost my fire, and how can I get it back? That's a good point, Azim. You feel like you've kind of lost your fire for these things. Martial arts and YouTube are things you really cared about, but you just can't really find the energy to do them nowadays, or you just don't find the interest to do them. It's possible that it isn't so much that you've lost interest in making YouTube videos or doing martial arts, it's possible that you haven't found a way that they can fit into your day-to-day life, right? Sometimes we just have a lot on our plate or we're very busy with things. So the things that we want to do, we just can't find the right placement for them. And because we can't find the right placement for them, we just don't do them, right? Let's take YouTube, for example. You want to make YouTube videos, but you're busy with schoolwork, or you're busy with chores, or you're just busy with life or work, and the week passes, and you say, all right, I'll make a video next week. And the week passes, all right, I'll make a video next week. And you might start to ask yourself, do I just not care about YouTube? But it might just be that you can't really find a slot in your day or in your week to make it work. So here's something you can try doing. Try telling yourself, where do I have free time? Do I have free time in the evenings when I come home from work? Do I have free time in the morning before I go to school? Do I have free time on the weekend? And ask yourself, what is it I would need to do to incorporate YouTube? Or what is it I need to do to incorporate martial arts? Maybe for YouTube, it's, okay, every Wednesday night, I'm going to write a script. Every Saturday, I'm going to record. Maybe it's breaking it up and chunking it out like that and looking at your free time and seeing if you can incorporate it. I think that if you truly didn't enjoy these things, then you wouldn't want to kind of bring them back into your life, right? You'd be like, all right, I don't really do them. I don't care much for them, right? Martial arts is another thing. You know, if you practice martial arts at home, maybe you want to focus on, maybe Saturday in the morning, you do a workout that's martial arts related, or maybe you kind of study techniques or different martial arts techniques during the week, and then you practice it on Sunday or something like that. A real big piece of incorporating things that you want to do into your day-to-day life is understanding what your free time looks like. Now, if you feel like you struggle and you don't have any free time at all, that can be an issue too. Sometimes we overload ourselves and overbook ourselves and just overwhelm ourselves, and we just feel like we can't manage it all. So I understand where you're coming from on that. I hope that helps, Azim. And like I said, I think we still have our Patreon call. So if you want to schedule it for tomorrow even, you can do that. The end of the month is coming on Monday or so. We can jump on and talk a little bit more about that, man. But thank you for the $5 super chat. I hope that direction was helpful, and I'd love to talk deeper about it if you want. But all right, let's get the chat poll going for point number 4. Let me just bring point number 4 back up to show you guys. Don't overwhelm them in conversation. If the conversation dies, think about what you guys talked about in the past and try to make reference to that, because it's like you're making reference to a conversation that went well rather than trying to start a brand new conversation based on something that you don't know what to talk about, right? Let's jump into the chat poll here, and that's going to be this, guys. What do you tend to do when your crush doesn't respond back to you quickly? Now, if you're in a situation where you're talking to your crush and the conversation just dies, how do you handle it? Do you find yourself kind of frantically worrying and messaging them over and over and over to get a response? Are you someone that kind of says, all right, I'm going to take a step back. I'm not going to respond to them for a few days. Do you just get annoyed? Sometimes people get annoyed. Sometimes people will be like, why aren't they responding to me? Why are they taking so long? Why are they so messed up? They get angry. Or sometimes they just give up. They say, oh, they didn't respond. I'm not even going to bother. That's it. I'm done texting them. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say on that. Juan Speaks says, that is me definitely, and I almost always have free time. Yeah, Juan, I know, like, if you have free time, the best thing you can do is to tell yourself, what can I do with that free time? You know, what are some of the things you want to do? Maybe you want to read more. Maybe you want to exercise. Maybe you want to make YouTube videos. You know, whatever it is, try to say, how can I best use my free time so that I can enjoy myself and be happy? So jumping and looking at you guys as you vote in here. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Jalen says, I wait and worry and think it's my fault. Yeah, Jalen, I hear you on that. Sometimes it's easy to feel like if a person doesn't respond to your message, you know, like you feel like there's something wrong with you, like you're a bad person. And I understand where you're coming from on that. And I think a lot of us feel that way sometimes. But it's hard to ever know, like you can't ever guess why someone stopped responding, right? You're just guessing at that point. Unless they tell you directly, you're just guessing. And the best way to kind of maybe secure another conversation with them is make reference to something in the past. That way they can talk to that again, because that was something that interested them before. It might interest them now. Alex Burns says, Josh, you just helped me and I vote annoyed. I hear you on that, Alex. Dark Tar says, I'm not stopping YouTube, but I have zero free time even on weekends. I hear you on that, Dark Tar. I feel like I have little to no free time either. And there's a lot of projects, a lot of things I want to do more of, but I just haven't found a placement for time. Dark Tar, I'm curious, just for you personally, what are some of the things that you feel take up most of your time? Is it a lot of schoolwork? Is it a lot of chores, a lot of housework? Where do you feel your time kind of is dedicated to right now? Looking at the chat poll here, most people are saying just wait, kind of just wait. You don't massive text them over and over and over and bother them. You just kind of wait on it. Hamish says, patience, young Padawan. Patience indeed. Looking through some more of what you guys are saying here. Eduardo says, if I like two girls, how do I choose and how do I treat the one I didn't choose? That's a good question, Eduardo. If you like two girls, and I did a video on this, how to choose between two girls. Yeah, I would say you hang out with both of them. Get to know both of them really, really well, and you'll start to see which one you have a better connection with. To the one you have a better connection with, that's the one you ask out. To the one you don't, it's important to, once you kind of start to realize, hey, she's not the girl I want to pursue, start to let her know that you only want to pursue a friendship. Make that clear. A lot of people don't make it clear and they lead a person on. Don't lead the girl on. It's not cool. The best thing you can do is say, hey, I really value our friendship and I want us to remain friends. Are you okay with that? Once you establish that, she may be okay with it, she may not, but you have kind of put yourself out there and that's the best thing you could do. Jalen says, but to be fair, we call and text all the time. I'm very patient and can wait a while. I hear you on that. Looking through here, Jalen says, karate makes me feel better. That's awesome, Jalen. Yeah, I've seen on your Instagram, man. I've seen you with the nunchucks and stuff. Dude, you're a badass, man. Okay. Juan says, I don't text my crush, but I would text. Okay, I hear you on that, Juan. L4 No says, I occasionally leave if I'm tired, as I'm not staying up and change my sleep schedule for my crush. I occasionally leave if I'm tired. So do you feel like your sleep schedule revolves a bit around your crush? Is it something you want to work on? Looking at the chat poll here, guys, most people are leaning towards just wait. About 53% in here say just wait. If your crush doesn't respond, you don't bombard them, you don't mass text them, you just wait. Like I said, if you're playing the waiting game, you want to message them a day later or 2 days later or 3 days later, the best thing you can do is make reference to something from the past conversations. Let's jump into the fifth point here, guys, because I think this is going to be the one that's going to bring it on home. I hope these tips have been helpful for you. If you've enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up on this. We're at 47 likes. We can easily get this to 50 likes, guys. For those of you that haven't hit the like button, hit it so we can hit 50 on this. Carter says, it would be cool if Josh followed me on Instagram. Carter, shoot me a message on Instagram, man. If you got a cool page and you're posting fun stuff, I'll follow you, man. I love following people that are active on Instagram, that are sharing their lives and posting cool things. So if that's you, man, let me know and I'll follow you. Okay, let's get to point number 5 here, guys. We are walking through 5 easy tips to have massively better conversations. These are going to be small things you can start doing to just improve the quality of the conversations you're having with your crush. And number 5 is going to be this. Lead the conversation to an action you can take together. This is an important one, guys. A lot of times when people are having conversations with their crushes and people they want to get to know better, they don't really lead it to anything. They kind of have a conversation, they joke around about a few things, they mention a few things, but then they kind of walk away from it. They kind of just let it be. What I'm recommending doing is, look, it's okay to just message them to chat. I'm not saying in every single conversation you have to lead it towards hanging out, but I think it's important to drop hints that that's what you want. I think that little process of dropping it little by little in there is going to start to build up. So when you do finally ask them to hang out, it's not going to come out of left field. It's not going to feel foreign to them. It's going to be like, yeah, we've been talking about this for a while. That makes sense. So let's look at an example of that. That's going to be this. Let's move my little face. So here are 2 examples of text conversations that the person here had with Bianca Belair. And he said to Bianca, I'm just watching SmackDown. How about you? And Bianca said, I might catch it later, kind of busy tonight. Now, if you got that kind of message from your crush, they don't really want to talk, that's fine. You might say, okay, no problem. I'll let you know what happens then. So now the guy here has kind of acknowledged, oh, okay, you don't want to talk about it. I'll let you be. And she said, cool, message me later. I guess when it ends. And the guy says, yeah, I'll talk to you later then. So it seems like a pretty normal conversation, and it is. It's a pretty normal, regular conversation. But there's little pieces in there that you can amp up a little bit so that you're building towards something. So if you look at the conversation over here, that's exactly what happens. Same question. I'm just watching SmackDown. How about you? She says, I might catch you later. Kind of busy tonight. Then he jumps in and says, no doubt, if you're free next week, we should watch it together. So he knows that the girl also likes watching WWE SmackDown. You both like SmackDown. So he used that as an opportunity to make potential plans with her. Hey, cool. Like if you're busy this week, maybe next week we can get together and watch it. And she said, yeah, that sounds like fun. So he jumped back in. Be prepared to see me yelling at the TV though. And she said, that's okay, I'd do the same. So he was playful about it after he kind of dropped the hint that he wanted to hang out with her. This is an example of asking a girl out or making plans without being so direct by saying, hi, would you like to go out with me? By doing it more like this, what you're doing is you're just incorporating it naturally into the conversation. And it comes off a little bit more smooth, a little bit more regular and playful. And if she says, oh, that's okay, I'm busy next week too, or I can't hang out on Fridays, it's a soft rejection. It's not a hard rejection because you can say, hey, that's cool. Because now you know, okay, she's not interested in doing that with me. She's not walking away going, she's not interested in me. He's saying she's not interested in doing that thing with me. So maybe he can suggest something else for them to do or another activity, and that might bring her on board. This is what I think you guys can do to up the conversation, to make it better overall, to make that person feel more engaged. Complex says, hi, you reading the chat? I'm looking at the chat every so often, Complex, but that's what I think you could start to do to start to make that person feel like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's something I can commit to. That might be fun. That might be engaging to do with you. So that's an easy example of how you can improve the conversation and add in that little call to action, add in that little ask of hanging out. Like I said, lead the conversation to an action that you can take. This is going to allow you to kind of start to make plans with that person. So that's the direction I think that you guys can go there. Before I kind of walk through these points again and kind of really nail them home, guys, I want to kind of bring up a few things here. Right after this live stream, it should be ending in like 5 to 10 minutes or so. Right after this live stream, I'm going to go live over on Instagram for the Instagram after party. What's the Instagram after party? Well, what I like to do is bring you guys on to video chat with me. I invite you guys on. You can request to join. We talk about what's going on in your life. I answer questions. It's a lot more laid back, not laid black. I'm thinking Paint It Black by Rolling Stones, but a lot more laid back. And basically what we do there is we just talk about whatever's on your mind. If you have questions, you want to just chat, you want to catch up, feel free to join me over on Instagram. Plus, I'm posting a lot of cool motivational stuff on Instagram that I'd love for you to check out. So follow me over on Instagram at the Josh Speaks. Right after this live stream, you'll be there for the Instagram after party. This is your invitation. And I also want to say this, guys. If you are not a member of our community, I want you to join our Discord community. This is a community we're building where we're working on being our best selves. So if you're someone that's looking to make more friends, you want to kind of expand your friend base to people that care about you, want to see you grow, want to be there for each other, this is the place to be. If you want to ask questions, get advice about dating, talk about something going on in your life, this is the place to be. If you want to share your journey and just vent or talk about what's going on in your life, maybe you're struggling with something, maybe you got into a fight with your parents, whatever it is, this is the place to be. Go to thejoshspeaks.com/Discord. Join our community, guys. It's a free and open community to everyone. We have a great group of moderators and people in there. Jalen is a moderator in there. Cheesy is a moderator in there. Dono is a moderator in there. A lot of the people you see in here with the little wrench next to their name, they're moderators in our community. They do a fantastic job of making it run smoothly and making sure everyone's having a good time. So I'd love to have you guys as members of the community if you're not already, and just join. That's all I can say. It's just a great place to be. I jump in there too and I chat with you guys. And little side note, okay? Right after the Instagram after party, we have our kind of late night party over on Discord. So if you join, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. And one more quick thing just before I kind of bring it to our wrap up for the 5 points here, guys. If you want to just shoot me a text, you want to kind of just get my advice on something, you have a quick question, shoot me a text here. This is my phone number, my texting number, 1718-400-7129. I jump on this. It's an app called Community and allows me to text you guys. So if you just kind of want to know what's going on, new videos I post, or you just want to ask me a question, shoot me a text. I answer this a lot more frequently than I do Instagram DMs or Snapchat messages. So texting me is probably the best way to get just a quick, answer from me or so on, whatever's going on in your life. And our Reddit, we're definitely growing our Reddit. I definitely want to bring in the new graphics when we rebrand for the Reddit, and I want to meet with the moderators and stuff so we can figure out like a Reddit strategy. Maybe it's like every week I post something or every week we ask a question. I want to build it in that sense. We got to really think about it to grow the Reddit, guys. I'll pull up the Reddit just because. thejoshspeaks.com/Reddit. You guys can join it as well if you're a Reddit user. All right, let's get through the wrap up of these points and then get to our mindful moment. If you don't know what the mindful moment is, you're going to love it, guys. Looking through these points again, here we go. Point number 1, skip the formalities and jump right into the convo. We're walking through 5 easy tips to have massively better text conversations. Point number 1 is this, guys. Skip the formalities, jump right into the convo. If you find yourself doing a lot of, hey, how's it going? How's your day? What's up? Those kinds of generic things, stop it, right? Jump right into asking the question, because adding that buffer, that safe buffer of what's up, how you doing, kills the momentum of the conversation. It's not as fun or engaging or interesting enough for them to jump in and answer. Go right into your question like you see in the examples over here. It's going to make the conversation much more fun. Point number 2. Hey, Alex Burns, if I don't get to answer your question, ask in the Instagram after party chat or jump into the Discord and I'll answer it there if I can. Tip number 2, guys, is this. Add context to your stories and make them relatable. Sometimes when you ask a question, it might seem kind of weird and foreign, like, why are you asking me this? So add a bit of context. Even if it's something as simple as, hey, me and my friend were having a debate and I wanted to get your opinion on something. You've added context. Now that person feels like their opinion is important, it's worth sharing with you, and they understand why they're sharing with you. Them understanding why they're sharing with you is a key piece. Kiki, do you love me? Here's an example of it: a bad conversation and a good conversation. But those are examples there. Like I said, add that context. It always makes the conversation and the questions you ask and the stories you share sound way more personable. Tip number 3 here is don't be afraid to add flirting and complimenting into the mix. A lot of times people hold back on flirting and they don't do it, which might land them in the friend zone, or they kind of go overboard with it and they just compliment too much and it just comes off as weird to the person, or it doesn't feel natural. Add flirting and compliments naturally into the conversation. Like you'll see an example over here is a good example and over here is a bad example of conversations that kind of didn't really work out and one that did kind of work out, where flirting is just a natural progress and progression in that conversation. Azim, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Let's pull up Azim's here before we get to point number 4. Azim says, there we go. Azim says, you think people feel pressure to just date anyone just so they can gain experience? I'm 21 and I feel like I'm a little behind, but some celebrities are still single. That's a good question, Azim. I think sometimes people do get into relationships because they're lonely, right? And they feel like they want to have a partner, they want to be with someone. I think that does happen. I think ultimately those relationships don't always work out because getting with someone because you're lonely is not going to fulfill the needs and the desires that you want in a partner. It's going to fulfill the loneliness, but once you start to get to know that person, you might feel like, wow, we're actually not really compatible. You might feel like you're wasting your time, so that's something I think you should think about. Eduardo says, hey, you consider posting motivational relationship advice on TikTok. Eduardo, I have a plan for TikTok. I'm planning on definitely going into this soon. But Azim, back to that question there. So I do think some people do it just to gain experience. I understand you're 21 and you feel a little behind. I get it, man. It's hard sometimes when you haven't dated anyone. But I think ultimately the best thing you can do, right? The only thing you can do is keep putting yourself out there, keep trying to meet people. I know at your job that you said sometimes you meet people there and customers and stuff like that. So it might be a way to continue flirting and practicing. You might also want to think about your extended network. Are there any friends of friends that you know? Like, do you know any guys or girls that can introduce you to other people? Or events like parties and stuff like that where you can meet other people? When it comes to celebrities being single, celebrities have a whole different kind of world where it's like the the intensity of their lifestyle makes it hard to date, which is why you usually see a lot of celebrities dating celebrities, because they're the only ones that kind of get each other, right? They're the only ones that kind of understand the demanding process of being a celebrity life. So that's why you kind of see it. And the reason why you see a lot of celebrities alone is because they just can't manage a relationship and handle that with their busy workloads and their schedules. So it's a lot more difficult for them because they have so much going on. But for someone like you who's a normal person, or someone like me who's a normal person, the best thing you can do is to use your extended network of people to, put yourself out there, talk to people when you have the opportunities, and to pursue things online if you can. Maybe online dating if that's the angle or direction you want to go. Okay. So I mentioned point number 3, I believe. Let's get to point number 4 here, the review. Don't overwhelm them in the conversation. Give them space and time. Far too often, if your crush stops responding, you might feel the need to continue to message them over and over and over. I think what you need to do instead is try to reference something from the past, reference something that you guys talked about back ago, that you saw that they were engaged with talking about, something that they were interested in, and to say, hey, I was thinking about that time we talked about this. I was thinking about that you mentioned this, or, hey, you mentioned this. What can I do with that? Coming up with an example like that is going to allow them to jump back into the conversation and to feel like it's something that they want to talk about, rather than like you just trying to find something random to talk about next time. Javon says, how should I approach a female? Well, I think when it comes to approaching someone that you want to talk to, the best thing you can do is, it depends where you're approaching them. If it's just randomly in the street, try to think about something that's going on around you that you could bring into the conversation, right? So that might be, hey, listen, I'm looking to buy a new jacket. Do you know a good store around here that sells jackets? If it's in school, if it's in school, you might want to say something like, I hear a little kid playing in the background screaming outside. If it's in school, you might want to say something like, hey, listen, do you have the notes for the test? Or we should form a group online, a study group and stuff. Let me get your Instagram handle. Like, try to think of different ways to kind of manage it like that. But like I said, the example here is reference something from the past to bring that conversation back. And tip number 5 here is lead the conversation to an action you can take. It's okay to kind of have fun and flirt with them and talk with them, but try to incorporate hanging out with them in the conversation somehow if you can. That's going to allow them to feel like that you're leading towards something. So when you finally do ask them to hang out, it's not foreign, it's not weird, it doesn't feel out of place. It actually feels kind of natural, right? If you're always talking about hanging out with them and then you say, hey, what are you doing on Friday? Let's go do that thing we've been talking about. They're going to be more up for it than if you just sprung it on them randomly. Those are my 5 tips, guys. Those are my 5 tips for what you can do to have massively better text conversations. I think if you implement even just one of those strategies, you're going to get more responses. You're going to get more active responses. That person's going to be way more into the conversation. They're going to want to talk to you more. I think those can be helpful. Nilix says, but I like a girl. Hey, Josh, if your Discord, in your Discord server, I don't know who, but a guy tell me you're young for a date at 13. Yeah, I mean, look, if dating when you're young can be a lot more different than when you're older, right? So dating at 13, a relationship there might be different from a relationship with a 17-year-old. If you're 13-year-old and dating, maybe it's that you guys talk to each other online. Maybe it's that it isn't focused so much on a deep romantic connection, but more on a friendship and the fact that you like this person, you like talking to them and spending time with them. So I think that if you want to date and you're young, you're 13, you're 14, you're 15 even to some degree, try to focus less probably on the romantic side of it and doing romantic dates and stuff like that, and focus more on just the connection and building deep connections and fun connections with people. SM46 says, going for the first date, I'm 20, how to make conversations and what to talk about. SM46, I think that definitely check out the videos that I have. I think those are going to be helpful for you. I think over time you're going to see that, starting the conversation is going to come down to asking deep questions and sharing more about yourself. But Azim, thank you again for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate it, man. Azim says, not to compare myself to a celebrity, but the reason I mention celebrities is because you would think that with the fame and fortune they have it be easy for them. That's a really, really good point, Azim. The thing about fame and fortune and being a celebrity is that life becomes easy to you. Life becomes easier in some senses because there's a clout around you, right? People want to be around celebrities. People like you for the fact that you're a celebrity. But a lot of times what celebrities actually struggle with is being seen for who they are, right? Think about a celebrity that has played a famous character on a TV show, right? Like I think of like Steve Urkel from Family Matters, or, let's take Steve Urkel from Family Matters. Let's take Mark Hamill, right? I was going to say as the Joker primarily, but as Luke Skywalker primarily, and then as the Joker, right? When the average person sees him, they're going to be like, hey, Luke Skywalker, hey, Joker, So they may not say, hey, it's Mark Hamill, the man, Mark Hamill. No, like people tend to see celebrities as the roles that they play. So it's hard for them sometimes to kind of meet someone and just genuinely be themselves. So while they get the glamour and the glitz and everyone wants to be around them, a lot of times it's not for who they are, it's for what they represent. So that's the real struggle that I think celebrities face. But Azim, I think if you want, I definitely would love to make a video on that. I think it'd be a really, really good topic to talk about, the glamour of celebrities and why we shouldn't compare ourselves to their lives. But I think that's a really, really good point. Again, Azim, thank you for the $5 super chat. Azim said, one last question. You mentioned that girls will give you attention and kind of compete for you if they see you have multiple options. But what if you don't? That's a good question. What if you don't? What if you don't have multiple options? Will girls compete for you? I'll pull back up here until it comes in. But that's a good question. So I think that ultimately girls won't compete for you if they don't see that you have the potential to date multiple people, right? Like if a girl says, hey, no other girls really care about him, no other girls really like him, it doesn't make you look more attractive. It just makes you look like a normal person. But I think that the way to kind of take advantage of the fact that you want girls competing for you in that sense is be flirting with multiple girls, be talking to different girls. Don't be afraid to express that too. Like, hey, yeah, I'm single right now, but I'm kind of seeing multiple people when you talk to girls. Be open and honest about that so that they see, hey, if I really like this guy, I got to lock him down for a date. I got to lock him down as a boyfriend, let them feel the desire to to express their need to be with you. I think that's the best way to do it. But if right now you don't have multiple options and you're not dating multiple people, I wouldn't worry so much about wanting to get girls' attention that way. I think instead the way that you get their attention is one-on-one. Talk to them about what you like to do for fun, ask deeper questions about what they like to do for fun, learn about their personality, share more about your personality. Those are going to be the steps that are going to help you work towards being someone desirable in their eyes. So don't worry so much about like, oh, I got to look like the hottest stuff. Really just focus on, I like this girl. I'm going to be forward with her. I'm going to be confident when I talk to her. I'm going to express that when I interact with her. That alone, forget anyone else, that alone is going to resonate with her and it's going to stand out to her and make her feel like, wow, this guy really knows what he wants and he wants to be with me. So that's what I would recommend. Thank you again for the multiple $5 super chats, Azim. I really, really appreciate it, man. I hope that was helpful for you. And as you guys know, it is time for our mindful moment. I have my bell right here. And I hope this live stream was helpful for you guys. We went on a little bit longer than last time, but I hope it's been helpful. I feel like you guys have asked amazing questions. We've covered some really awesome and fun things in here. So let's get into this mindful moment here, guys. I have my bell. And what I want every single person in the chat and in the live stream right now to do is we're all going to collectively kind of close our eyes. We're going to close our eyes together here. Take a deep breath. And I want you to think about the next text message that you're going to send someone that you like. Think about what it is that you want to say to them. Think about what it is that you want to get across, how you want to convey your personality, your interests, your desire to learn more about them. Think deeply about how you want to put that forward. And you're going to carry it forward without being nervous or scared. And the way that you're going to do that is by thinking about the confidence that's deep within you. Because we all have that confidence deep within us. Texting someone isn't what makes you scared. It's not sending the text that's fearful. It's, am I going to get a response from them? Are they going to reject me? Is the conversation going to die? That's where the fear lies. And the way to conquer that is to just show a genuine interest in that person, to talk to them like a genuine person, and to be open to hearing from them and learning about them in a genuine way. And with that, we'll close our eyes and we'll listen to the sound of the bell. Let's warm up the bell first. Okay. We'll close our eyes and we'll think deeply about the next text message you're going to send your crush, how you're going to do it with confidence. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this live stream. I hope it's been helpful for you guys, and I hope that what I covered in this live stream, you enjoyed it, and it's stuff you can carry forward when you have your next text conversation. If you're watching the replay and you're interested in learning more about how you can have a better text conversation with your crush, check out the video over here. It's going to be super, super helpful for you. On that note, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. Nihilix, I apologize if I didn't get to answer your question. Jump on the Instagram after party and we could talk about it there. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll catch you next time. As always, love and peace. See you guys then.